All right, so We the Animals is it's based on a best-selling novel, and it's mainly about the perspective of three kids, but mainly one kid in the group, in this family that's not quite all together there. They have a mom, they have a dad, but what they don't know is that that their dad has a bit of a violent streak. And it's kind of hidden behind closed doors, so they don't quite know about it. And then their father will leave for certain times, and their mother will slip into depression, and they're kind of left on their own to basically survive in the world, survive in their house, survive in the outside world and feed themselves and figure out what to do, when when the heat gets shut off and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of like kind of like a living in squalor type film, and kind of like a bit of a coming of age film. But they mostly focus on like one of the boys who has this fascination with drawing. He loves drawing everything he feels and sees, and he has these very very vivid dreams about flying and being stuck in the dirt and stuff like that. But the thing that he discovers more as he starts befriending this I think it's like kind of like a local farmer, is that he has a bit of these homosexual urges in his head, and he's kind of fighting these off because he kind of has like like this fear of what his parents and what his brothers will think of him, and so he kind of mostly keeps that concealed to his drawings, kind of keeps that squared away there. So while that's happening, we also get more drama with the father and the mother who are constantly at each other's throats, and just when it seems like like everything is fixed and that they get back together, it just comes back and it repeats itself. What I love so much about this film is, well, for one, I love the sequences with the drawings. They're kind of like animated scribbles and stuff like that, where you get like kind of deeper into his head there. We get some trippier sequences, like I mentioned, with like the flying and the dirt. But I just love the way that the drama plays out here. It gets pretty damn raw at times, especially when the characters get frustrated and don't know quite what to do, and when things get uncomfortably close at times. Like they mentioned that they showed in one scene there where their mom and dad are making out on the floor, and they're kind of like playing with each other. But then at one point, one of the kids just snaps and just punches their dad and asks like, "Why did you leave us?" And there's no answer, and so the kids just overflow with rage and start punching and punching and punching and punching and punching and just asking why are you doing this, why can't you be a better dad, and they don't really have a good answer for it. And there's a later scene where they kind of make a bit of a discovery that one of their kids might be homosexual, and rather than provide answers, they they get visceral because they don't know how to react to this stuff, and they get violent, they get obscenely violent, just don't know how to control themselves. And there's very much this kind of like loss, this feeling of like loss and desperation in there, where you feel trapped and like there's no way out, and that things are never going to be better for you, that you want to escape. And so you can understand why one of the kids wants to escape into his drawings and sort of like get away from the world, push aside his family, push aside the world he feels that doesn't give them a shot, mainly because their dad is kind of struggling to do the right thing, but ultimately can't. He can't really hold down the job. He can't get a proper car for his family and stuff like that, and he's frustrated this whole time. He's like my kids deserve better, we deserve a better life, but we can't quite have it here. And it's amazing drama, the way it plays out. I love that they keep the perspective with the kids. I love how it feels, especially in the beginning. It's very rhythmic at times. Like there's a beat that it moves to throughout the film that always keeps you engaged and watching, where you can kind of feel like literally like feel the tension like bubbling up at times within this family that is just struggling to love each other. Not so much even to get by, because they more or less try to find ways to get by with their with their house in squalor, but they're just trying to find ways to get by and just love each other, just and not be that violent, even though they're kind of like giving into their more violent tendencies. So it does, and for that it becomes tough to watch at times, like very 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 tough. But at the same time, it's interesting drama, and there's a lot of great scenes where it quickly goes from kind of like wholesome horsing around within the household, to just like to domestic abuse. Like it can happen just like that, because because this family hasn't quite solidified itself, and the more it goes on, the more you realize, you know, it's never going to be like the ideal family. Like that one scene there where he's teaching his kid to swim, and just leaves him underwater, kind of like sink or swim. And of course, the mom gets mad at him, and they fight. They constantly fight, and it's eventually, once I think after the first time he leaves and then comes back, it becomes pretty clear after that scene that it's just going to continue, that the family is just going to continue to kind of be like this kind of like distant and a bit deteriorating at times, where they just kind of like shut out each other, which is really sad. So, so yeah, I would definitely recommend go seeing this very sad film with this very. I will say this, like the visuals in here are very trippy. Like there's at one point where, I think one of them becomes high at one point. Like, well, not high. I think one of they start getting into booze at one point, and they start having like trippy visions of like being underwater and stuff like that. It never goes like too ridiculous or too far out like that, but it does create this very interesting atmosphere. That made it so infatuating to watch at times. So, We the Animals. It's a tough film to watch at times, but I do really adore this film. So, 4 out of 5 stars.